In a dystopian future, Milo is sitting outside on a couch. The city is in ruins. He then speaks to a hovering drone. He introduced himself as Milo Rogers, and he was an astrophysicist. He claims to be the last human alive and pleads with those watching not to let humanity be forgotten. He then looks at a scar on his hand that looks like some sort of symbol. He reminds the drone of his name once again. In the past, the world was seen as crumbling. Riots were everywhere and wars were raging. Factories were releasing dangerous smoke to the world. People were in poverty, and there were a lot of sick people who couldn't get the medical attention they needed. Society rotted from within. Back in 2016 in New York, Milo, as a young boy in a wheelchair, is drawing rockets. He dreams of becoming an astrophysicist. In their small apartment, his mother brings him toast for breakfast. Far away on a Missouri farm, Ricky's tractor breaks down. He angrily goes out and leads his dog out of the farm. He tries to call someone, but he loses cell signal just as an aircraft makes an emergency landing nearby. Without noticing this, Ricky takes his dog and gets into his house. Across the globe, everyone is losing their phone signals. Technology begins to collapse. Planes are grounded midair and chaos grips the cities. Curious people start taking a picture while some panic. A thick mist rolls in. Then, like shadows swallowing the sky, massive alien ships descend, blotting out the sun. News reports start reporting this, verifying it is happening all around the world. The UFOs did not try to make contact, and people don't know anything about what they want. As panic erupts and military scramble, strange things happen. People begin seeing visions of dead relatives, lifelike and haunting. These people start delivering the message of the aliens. These apparitions are the work of Carolyn, a representative of an alien race known as the Overlords. He announces their mission to eliminate human suffering and usher in a new world utopia. Following this, the change is swift. Wars immediately stop. News reporters reported that the war in Gaza, Israel, and Iran has stopped. The old enemies embracing on camera. Violence declines, but not everyone celebrates. Powerful elites feel threatened. A meeting is held to assess the damage, and the alien ship is still blocking the sun. They still didn't say anything after their first message. Ricky's neighbors also gather to discuss the issue. They are worried about the crops that are planted. They debate the aliens' intentions. At that time, Ricky walks in bouncing a basketball. He urges them to calm down because there is nothing they can do anyway. So far, the visitors seem helpful, not hostile, so it is hard to call it an invasion. That night, Ricky and his wife Ellie talk about what happened. She asks what happened when Carolyn talked to him as his father. Suddenly, odd things stir in Ricky's home. Lights start to flicker and machines sputter. The ground trembles. Grabbing their dog, he and Ellie take shelter in the cellar. Outside, an eerie glow surrounds the house. Something unseen unscrews the cellar door. Ricky steps forward attempting to make a conversation, but the light gets stronger and demolishes the house. A massive drone hovers in front of the house. When Ricky steps out and asks if they would leave his family if he comes with them, the light then went away and he boarded the drone. The house is miraculously restored. Moments later, the drone carries him away. Ricky finds himself in a luxurious hotel suite in New York, a perfect replica of where he once honeymooned with his late wife. A voice asks if he likes it. Ricky explains that it is his honeymoon suit. Ricky asks who it was. The voice is Caroline's. He offers Ricky a role as Earth's ambassador, saying leaders are too corrupt. They want someone they can trust from Earth. Carolyn explains he was a peacemaker before and he has an influence. Ricky is told he was chosen for his integrity. Ricky asks to see Carolyn, but that was not possible too. He is then told to take a device, but he also has a choice not to. Meanwhile, government officials are debating about what to do. The president wants to strike, but everyone is scared of the danger. At the same time, reporters and government agents swarm Ricky's farmhouse. The drone returns and Ellie walks towards it angrily. She starts aggressively pounding the door and the door opens. Ricky gets out of the drone. Ellie hugs him in delight and he tells her that he talked to Carolyn. When she asks what he is told, he shows her the device that was given to him. Officials soon surround him. He talks to them in his farm. One of them, Paul, demands the device. When he refuses, they threaten him. Ellie records everything, hoping to deter violence. Ricky explains that the aliens are there to teach them, but Paul threatens them with his gun. Forced to comply, Ricky hands it over. Back in Washington, a desperate mother lifts her sick child toward the hovering spaceship. As the device is opened, a miracle occurs. The sick child in Washington is suddenly healed. Soon, news spreads. Illnesses once thought incurable, like leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and pulmonary lung disease, are vanishing worldwide. Ricky is taken to the White House. Reporters are cramped inside. Paul reminds him that he is the sole spokesperson for an alien race. He then finally steps in front of the cameras and declares himself Earth's ambassador to the overlords. He was taken and talked to Carolyn. He couldn't see him, but from the sound of it, Carolyn seems compassionate. He reveals that Carolyn will take care of most of the issues of Earth. Shortly after, Ricky quickly finds himself overwhelmed. Reporters bombard him with questions he can't answer, and they grow frustrated when he says Carolyn believes humanity isn't ready to meet him. When they asked where the meeting was held, he revealed it was in a suite located in New York. Ellie listens to this from her home. From then on, every time Carolyn needs to speak to Ricky, he uses the drone to bring him into the same illusory hotel room. Carolyn wants to make a lot of change in the world, but Ricky warns that it would be hard. Ricky asked if he were here 5 years ago, would Annabelle stay alive? But Carolyn tells him they were not there 5 years ago, and Annabelle is dead. Carolyn asks Ricky if he wants the room to be dismantled, but Ricky wants it as it is. Back at home, his relationship with Ellie is deteriorating. Whenever he goes to that room, memories of Annabelle is triggered, and he seems to be distant. Ellie, being supportive, tells him she will be there for him. Over time, the overlords continue reshaping the planet, eliminating hunger, easing poverty, and using Ricky to build diplomatic bridges between nations. Still, not everyone is convinced. A growing number of skeptics believe the aliens are softening Earth's defenses for an eventual takeover. Fueling this fear is the Freedom League, a resistance group funded by a media mogul named Hugo. They stir public unrest, spread suspicion, and organize protests against the overlords. Ricky pleads with Carolyn to reveal himself and gain public trust, but Carolyn declines. The world leaders are also facing problems because of the overlords. Saudi leaders complain that the overlords had imprisoned their oil reserves. Paul argues they free their supply pipes, their oil, and the US are going to use them to pump desalinated water into the sub-Sahara. But the Saudi leaders are angry that the US is deciding on the property of the Saudi kingdom. But Paul tells them they need to do that for people who are starving. Ricky is also present, and he warns that they better accept the reality. Meanwhile, Milo's brilliance earns him a full scholarship. Fascinated by the alien presence, he obsessively studies their technology and watches every news report. One evening, he manages to descend the stairs on his own and got on his wheelchair. He goes out only to witness his mother arguing with a shady man outside. The man grows violent, strikes her, and when Milo intervenes, he shoots the boy in the chest. As his mother cradles him, a beam of light descends from the sky, vaporizes the attacker, and miraculously heals Milo, his wound gone, and with it his paralysis. News of the event spreads fast. Hugo accuses the aliens of playing God, stoking more outrage. Back in Missouri, tensions rise between Ricky and Ellie. She's frustrated with his long absences and questions their future together. After the dinner, Ricky starts cleaning up but hears his dog barking strangely outside. He steps out to investigate and is ambushed. When he wakes, he's locked inside a van, abducted by the Freedom League. They take him to a secluded base where he spends the night imprisoned. Meanwhile, Ellie pleads with the overlords for his return. The next day, Ricky is brought before Hugo, who lays out his plan. Strip the aliens of power by dismantling everything they've given. Ricky refuses, horrified. What Hugo doesn't realize is that Carolyn has been broadcasting this conversation live to the entire world. As Hugo orders Ricky's execution, time freezes just before the shot is fired. The illusion reappears and Ricky is whisked away by drone. Inside the hotel simulation, he finds his late wife. For a moment, he considers staying, but reality calls him back. He resists the illusion and returns to the farm and Ellie. Annabelle follows him, but when Ellie opens the door, she disappears. The next day, Ricky is taken to the room again. Furious, Ricky confronts Carolyn, demanding to know why he was allowed to be kidnapped. Carolyn calmly explains it was intentional, a public lesson to expose the Freedom League. The plan worked. The group is dissolving. Ricky presses Carolyn to show himself to the world, but Carolyn refuses. Then, without ceremony, Carolyn informs Ricky his role is over. Desperate to understand more, Ricky snaps a picture of the reflective surface Carolyn hides behind. Back home, he and Ellie examine the image. Seeing Carolyn's face, they agree he has good reason to keep it hidden. Then they begin planning their wedding. In the world, not everyone is ready to embrace a new world order. Some religious factions still reject the aliens. Meanwhile, news breaks. Hugo has taken his own life, and Milo, more determined than ever, dedicates himself to one goal, becoming the first human to set foot on the Overlord's home planet. 10 years later, Milo has become a respected astrophysicist, having graduated from MIT. He now works for the World Federation, Earth's newly unified global government. Meanwhile, Ricky and Ellie are happily married, though unable to have children. Life across the planet is peaceful and prosperous, made possible by the alien technology the Overlords brought with them. With Earth finally transformed into a utopia, Carolyn decides it's time to appear publicly. A massive event is held in a stadium. When his ship lands, 2 children escort him out and the world finally sees him. His appearance shocks the crowd. He resembles the devil. He then greets them and tells them there is no need to be afraid. Though the image disturbs many, daily life carries on. Years pass. Earth is thriving. Sustainable energy, universal health, and no war. Yet Milo feels uneasy. Scientific curiosity is fading. And when Earth's last space programs are shut down, he loses his position. He accepts a post at a research lab in Africa built at the request of Carolyn. There he meets Rachel, a fellow researcher. Rachel is also curious about the Overlords, and she studies them relentlessly. One night in Missouri, Ricky wakes to the familiar glow outside his house. He follows it to the tool shed and finds Carolyn waiting for him. Carolyn asks Ricky how he is doing, and Ricky starts ranting about his problems. Then Carolyn tells him he is there to apologize and tells him something significant. Later, when Ellie sees the drone flying off, Ricky brushes it off, saying Carolyn was just checking in. By morning, curious crowds gather near the farm, believing Carolyn's visit means something important. Pressed for answers, Ricky finally tells Ellie that the Overlords believe Earth is heading toward a new phase, though he still doesn't explain what that means. Back at the research facility, strange things begin happening. The ground trembles and animals become frantic. Dr. Boyce is called and discovers a new room that wasn't there before. Inside, they find a glowing device resembling a massive Ouija board. Boyce suspects it's meant for communication. That same night in an American suburb, young Tommy wakes from disturbing dreams to find light pouring through his window. A drone circles overhead and directs its beam at his mother Amy's abdomen. After it leaves, Amy mutters, "We have to save the children," in a trance. When she asks for Tommy, her husband Jake finds him in the garage, unblinking and distant. As Jake flips the light switch, the power fails. Tommy stares at him and says eerily, "It will end and begin." At that moment, Amy repeats the same phrase from their bedroom, and Tommy, almost possessed, shoves his father away. Boyce researches the history of the Ouija board, and it was once associated with forbidden knowledge, something only gods were supposed to possess. The following day, tension rises between Jake and Amy. Jake insists something is wrong with Tommy, who's been wandering the house with a blank expression. He also brings up Amy's strange behavior, talking in her sleep, blaming it on stomach pain. Eventually, they bring in Peretta, a counselor raised by missionaries. She's struggling to reconcile her faith in a world where divinity seems obsolete. As Petta is talking to his parents, Tommy mentions that he doesn't want to stay and wants to leave. Piera, trying to be gentle, tells Tommy that they can talk wherever he wants to. In the research facility, Rachel, Boyce, and Milo talk about what happened. During the day, the new room appeared and the animals had turned into something else. Boyce keeps defending Carolyn, saying he was just scanning for disease. He then takes Milo alone to his office. While there, Milo shares a troubling observation with Dr. Boyce. Both lab animals and wildlife have been acting strangely, their eyes glowing green. Boyce, however, is more preoccupied with impressing Carolyn. He's desperate for an invitation to the alien home world and warns his staff to stay professional. In their first session with Poretta, Tommy confesses to horrifying visions of an apocalypse. He sees a massive eye eclipsing the sun. He's convinced he's not just dreaming but actually going to that place. When Poretta pushes for details, the voices in Tommy's mind grow loud and chaotic. He panics and runs off, spooked by the sound of a crying baby that no one else can hear. At the same time, something unseen suddenly tightens Poretta's chain around her neck. Choking, she tears off her crucifix just in time. Instantly, Tommy calms down and places a hand on Amy's stomach, telling her the baby stopped crying, though she's not even pregnant. Poretta, shaken by what she witnessed, flees the house. Back at the farm, Ricky prepares lunch for him and Ellie. As they are sitting to dine, Ricky sees kids peeking through the windows. He goes out and sees there were people outside. As more people gather outside his property, eager for updates on the aliens. But suddenly, Ricky's arm flares red and he collapses from a stroke. At the hospital, doctors deliver grim news. Exposure to something aboard Carolyn's ship has poisoned him. He has little time left. It also explains why he and Ellie were never able to have children. Ellie, devastated, returns home and surrounds herself with technology, pleading silently for Carolyn to answer, but he remains silent. Meanwhile, Poretta visits a priest, Jim. Jim sees that she is nervous and asks what is going on. In the research facility, Milo and Rachel get into a debate about science and religion. Milo believes humanity has always since the coming of the overlords, which is why depictions of beings like Carolyn existed long before they arrived. Rachel remains skeptical. Back in the church, Poretta explains she has been researching demonic lore and ancient descriptions of the devil. Haunted by how much Carolyn resembles those tales, Jim urges her not to abandon her faith. 4 months pass. Amy discovers she is in fact pregnant. As she brainstorms names, she settles on Jennifer. But before she can speak it, Tommy says the name aloud as if he'd already known. That evening, Poretta arrives outside their home to pray. The alien drone appears and hovers above her with its light beam. She lifts her crucifix and the drone retreats. She hurries to the door, trying to warn the family, but they dismiss her and ask her to leave. Meanwhile, Boyce plans a formal event at the research facility and sends someone to invite Jake and his family under the pretense of a job interview. The next day, Poretta is alarmed by news reports showing Carolyn allowing his former ambassador Ricky to slowly wither in the hospital. She travels to the farm to offer her support to Ellie. Meanwhile, Morton, the person sent by Boyce to invite Jake and his family, goes to their house and tells them they have been invited to Africa. Jake is a bit skeptical at first, but Amy got excited, so he decides to accept. At the farm, Poretta talks to Ellie. During the conversation, Ellie reveals that she doesn't think God ever helped them arrive anything, but the overlords helped them. She then walks away, leaving Poretta standing. The party in the research facility begins. Milo and Rachel attend together. Jake and his family also arrive. During a conversation with Milo, Jake tells him he was here for a job interview, but Milo reveals Boyce is actually shutting the facility down, so the interview was just bait. Suddenly, Boyce announces a surprise guest, Carolyn himself. Kellen starts making a speech. Boyce and Carolyn explain that animals have been transported to the Overlord's planet to populate an alien zoo. Milo seizes the moment to challenge Kellen, accusing him of extinguishing human curiosity. Carolyn replies that humanity's obsession with knowledge had brought them too close to forces they couldn't control. After the exchange, Boyce and Carolyn escort Amy to the mysterious chamber with the glowing board. When she places her hand on it, Carolyn is able to communicate directly with the entity developing inside her. Through this connection, a radiant beam shoots into the sky, carrying a strange symbol for the world to see. Meanwhile, Jake searches for Tommy, but the boy refuses to leave. Back in the chamber, Boyce's nose begins to bleed. Carolyn addresses the being inside Amy, not as a child, but as something else entirely. He tells it plainly, it cannot be a child and it is not here to save anyone. Boyce grows concerned when Amy starts showing signs of pain. He reaches out to steady her just as Jake tries to help Tommy. Both Amy and Tommy recoil, warning them not to touch. Then Amy drifts into a trance, guiding Carolyn's beam with the strange board. At the same time, Tommy climbs onto the roof and declares that she is awake before jumping. Jake rushes to him and finds the boy floating just above the ground. In his arms, Tommy confesses he's terrified of Jennifer. She's too strong. Meanwhile, Milo realizes Carolyn's light beams are actually a written language. He sketches a symbol onto a napkin and leaves the party to investigate. Amy runs to her family and they quietly slip away from the gathering, ignoring Boyce's questions. On the way home, Amy is overcome with excruciating pain. Rachel follows Milo and finds him overlaying the symbol on a star chart. It matches the Carina constellation, the Overlord's home. The next day, Carolyn visits Ricky and Ellie again. In the tool shed, he hands Ricky a rare vial of medicine. Just then, Ellie walks in and after her, Peta bursts in, calling Carolyn a fraud. Pressed for answers, Carolyn admits it wasn't the sickness that made Ricky sterile. It was Carolyn's own doing. He'd made the decision out of compassion, knowing Earth wouldn't last much longer and that loss is harder for parents. Ellie lashes out at Carolyn. Peretta, overwhelmed, grabs a shotgun and fires. Carolyn collapses, wounded. Despite the pain and betrayal, Ricky uses the vial on him, saving his life. Carolyn, recovering, tells Peta her faith is beautiful but powerless. Nothing can stop what's coming. Meanwhile, Boyce begins to understand. The reason Kellen asked for animals was to build a new ark on his world. Later, Peta is drawn by a vision of her mother. She follows it, dazed, and falls from a balcony to her death. At the hospital, Amy gives birth to Jennifer. Her eyes glow with the same eerie green seen in other altered beings. 4 years pass. Children raised in this new world are stronger, healthier, and smarter than any before. Milo, now in a relationship with Rachel, oversees research on these gifted children. It becomes clear they're evolving, many showing early signs of psychic abilities. So far, it's just childlike play, but something greater stirs beneath. Ricky is still alive thanks to mechanical implants, though he is in constant pain. A resistance forms in New Athens, a last refuge of old world values. One night, Carolyn visits Ricky and reveals Earth's fate. They are not responsible for this, and they are just facilitators. He offers Ricky a way out, safe passage off the planet, but Ricky refuses to abandon humanity. Soon after, Milo and Rachel witness something troubling. Children freeze mid-play, raise their right arms to the sky, and chant Jennifer's name. Same thing is happening all around the world. Some older ones arrive at Tommy's home, seeking their leader. Milo realizes that Rachel is the key to everything. He then calls and warns Jake while Tommy tells his father Jennifer is showing them visions of other worlds. Jake tells the kids to leave. They ignore him, flooding the streets. Jennifer reassures Amy she sees everything and there's no reason to fear. Her powers let her speak directly into the minds of Tommy and the others. Jake decides it's time to escape to New Athens. To leave, Jennifer has to use her abilities to clear the streets. When they reach the city, it feels like a step back in time. Dirty, overpopulated, decaying. They are welcomed by a man named Jerry Hellcross. He reassures them that everything is okay and leads them to his house. The house is filled with arts and other things that had disappeared from the utopian world that the overlords had created. Later, the family settles into their new home. Milo keeps calling Jake, but he ignores it, but Amy convinces him to speak with him for Jennifer's sake. During a video call, Milo tries to question Jennifer. The signal begins to distort. Her eyes start glowing as she shows him a vision of Earth's destruction. Before the call ends, she says simply, "The end begins." Panicked, Milo hatches a desperate plan to sneak aboard the Overlord's ship with the next shipment of animals. Rachel, heartbroken, agrees to help. At the farm, Ricky's condition worsens. The implants keeping him alive have stopped working and the pain is now unbearable. Ellie tries to comfort him, but her heart breaks when he mutters the name of his first wife. Suddenly, the world around him shifts. He's back in the familiar illusion of the hotel, lost in vivid memories. At first, he doesn't notice Carolyn watching silently. Rachel shows Milo how the animals are put into stasis bags for transport. Though horrified, Milo is determined. Later, Rachel hides him among the cargo. After a final kiss goodbye, she places him into the bag. Milo drifts into sleep as he's smuggled aboard the alien vessel alongside the animals bound for a world far from Earth. Meanwhile, Ricky drifts through moments from his past with Annabelle until strange inconsistencies and Ellie's voice crackling through a radio begin to fracture the illusion. The memory of his wife's death from cancer brings him crashing back to reality. He recognizes the trick and demands the truth. Carolyn finally appears. Carolyn offers him a way out. Stay here in a perfect illusion free of pain. But Ricky refuses. It's not real. He's found something more meaningful with Ellie. Real love, real loss, and the strength that comes with it. He asks Carolyn to bury the illusion forever and returns home. Back on the farm, he walks out but collapses. Ellie runs towards him and he tells her he never loved anyone the way he loves her. She lies beside him on the ground and they talk about the stars. Sometime later, Jake, Amy, and Tommy are watching a movie when the screen cuts to static. Jennifer's voice echoes through the theater. It's time. Then Carolyn appears on every screen across Earth. He delivers his final message. Humanity is evolving into something higher, but that transformation means extinction. The children will ascend, becoming something beyond human. No more children will be born. Panic spreads. Expectant mothers realize their pregnancies have ended. Children begin levitating, silently drifting skyward despite their parents' desperate cries. All except Tommy. He remains behind. The family searches for Jerry and finds him drunk in a cemetery chapel beside his daughter's grave. He's already armed a bomb, intending to destroy New Athens. To him, a world without children is no future at all. Jake tries to reason with him, but it's Tommy who delivers the final word. He stayed only to say goodbye. Now it's his time to leave too. He floats upward as Amy sobs. Jake prepares to stop the bomb, but Amy places a hand on his. She accepts the end. They hold hands as the explosion wipes New Athens from the earth. Elsewhere, Jennifer stands alone atop a mountain. She raises her arms and sends a beam into the sky. Far away aboard the Overlord's ship, Milo awakens. Disoriented, he injects himself with a survival serum. An Overlord, Vindarton, finds him. He has welcomed him. He explains that Milo's journey took 40 years in Earth time. Humanity by now is gone. This was always the design of the Overmind, the cosmic intelligence guiding evolution across the universe. The Overlords have long served it, initiating planetary changes. When commanded, Milo, desperate to understand, is taken to meet it. They reach a radiant expanse of white light. There, a glowing orange figure appears, taking on Rachel's likeness to ease Milo's mind. This being explains that it is both God and evolution, a collective intelligence absorbing life into a greater whole. The children have already joined it. The rest of humanity has returned to the flow of universal consciousness. Overwhelmed, Milo blacks out. When he awakens, he has to be taken back home and collapses again. He wakes up again. The ship is orbiting Earth again. 85 years have passed. The planet is lifeless. Cities stand empty. Silence reigns. Humanity is gone. The Overlords, still sympathetic to Milo, retrieve Rachel's preserved body from the ruins of Earth. When Milo visits her, grief overtakes him. In a moment of anguish, he yanks the necklace he once gave her. Her body collapses into dust and shards, leaving nothing behind but a scorch mark on his palm. Carolyn arrives and solemnly confirms the truth. Milo is the last human. His tone carries a strange kind of sorrow. He admits his own species is denied the final evolution. The Overlords cannot join the light, cannot merge with the Overmind. In that, he says humans were fortunate. He offers Milo a place among them, a life removed from Earth and its loss. But Milo declines. He chooses to return to Earth one last time to observe and record its final moments, something the Overlords have never done after a world ends. That recording spoken at the beginning of this story was made just before this journey. Milo climbs the now desolate mountain and finds Jennifer still there drawing in the last remnants of Earth's energy. She stands unmoved, part of something far beyond humanity. As the ground begins to fracture beneath him, Milo realizes Earth's end is literal. The planet is collapsing. He pleads with Carolyn. If nothing else can be saved, let at least one piece of humanity endure. In response, the Overlords unlock his mind. Milo relives his life in a rush of memory. Then Earth erupts into light. The sky swallows the ground. The Overlords discuss what to do with the memory of Milo and decide to leave it there for whoever passes to hear it.